Warning, this video is not suitable for children because it references drugs. But no drugs were actually taken during this video. I just have bipolar and I'm just high on life. Me hugging a bag of red sand as if it was a bag of mites. With my autism, I like the sensory look and feel of certain textures. I love sand and even used to eat it when I was younger. I used to love playing with sand, and sand is like lots of little dots. Mites are like little dots just like sand, and I love the texture of lots of mites like a pile of sand. I'd love to run my hands through a pile of mites like sand. I especially love mites, bold, intense, red colour. Mites are my special interest, and a pile of mites is my sensory special interest. So here's a story about piles of mites. Also with autism, you can attribute human emotions to objects and animals like mites. Mites are like my little babies that I love, and I'd love to buy a big bag of red sand and pretend that every sand grain in the bag is one of my 1,000 mite friends, and I'd love to hug the bag of pretend mites. 6 months later, I'm going to climb inside a big bag of mites. I love mice, which are like little red dots and little orange dots. Orange sherbet looks like a big pile of orange mice, and it's fun to pretend orange sherbet is orange mice. My acquaintance bought me a big bag of orange sherbet, which is basically like a huge bag full of orange mice. The bag is 3 kilograms. They deliberately bought it because it looked like a bag full of mites. And they've been looking all over the place to try and get me red sherbet, and they just got me orange sherbet because mites can also be orange. I'm going to climb inside the big bag of sherbet mites. I want to be inside mites. Here's me inside a big bag of mites with sherbet. Here's me with a very long line of mites, bracket sherbet. Making videos about mites isn't making me happy anymore. It's becoming obsessional. It's like I'm snorting a line of mites as a drug. And I've become addicted to the point where I no longer feel the positive effects of the drug and just feel like I have to compulsively take the drug and compulsively draw and do videos. But I really enjoyed doing this drawing. Fun fact, did you know that if 3 kilograms of sherbet mites was 3 kilograms of cocaine, it would have a street value of £90,000? Although my OCD is telling me to fact check the value of cocaine because I worry I've made a mistake and my drawing is not accurate, don't worry, I won't compulsively research cocaine for hours just to make sure my video is correct. And I have never even taken cocaine in the first place. And I'm not even on any drugs at the minute. I do get naturally high with bipolar, but I'm not even naturally high at the minute either. So basically, I'm going to go mental with my giant bag of sherbet. 3 kilograms of sherbet that is meant to be mice. It's so huge that I could make sherbet angels out of it instead of snow angels. I could build sherbet men instead of snowmen, and I could throw some of the sherbet up in the air so that it rains down dendritic sherbet crystals instead of dendritic snowflakes. The sherbet's all supposed to be mites, and 3 kilograms is a lot of mites. I've been compulsively checking and researching that the sherbet is vegan for ages. I'm not vegan, but I don't want animals to die just so I can snort a load of sherbet and pretend it's 90,000 pounds worth of cocaine. I want to dive into the 3 kilogram of sherbet that's meant to be might. I want to impulsively buy a giant ladder and diving board off some random dodgy stranger on Craigslist. I have really bad dental anxiety and OCD. This means that I won't eat any sugary food in case it damages my teeth. I dread even needing another filling, and my weight dropped down to 8 stone. I won't have any sweets or chocolate at all. It would be really nice to taste some of the 3 kilograms of sherbet mites. It would be a really nice treat for a special occasion, and it would be really nice to see what it tastes like, because it's meant to be mites. My friend is giving me the 3 kilogram sherbet mites in 6 weeks' time. I'm not going to eat any sugar for 6 whole weeks just to save myself up for when my friend gives me the 3 kilograms of sherbet mites they've already bought for me. Due to my dental anxiety and obsessively worrying about eating any sugar or acidic food, I will only eat a few grams of the 3 kilogram bag of sherbet mites. But what a few grams they will be. I've always wanted a giant bag of red sand that looks like mites for my videos. But my mum won't let me impulsively buy a massive bag of red sand, as she says it'll be really heavy, and how am I going to carry it home? In my story, everything in the whole multiverse is made of loads of mites. Even if I only eat a 1,000th of the present, I am very grateful for it. And the bag of sherbet is better than nearly everything my family has ever bought for me, apart from Mr. Mite, the cuddly toy that my sister bought me. In real life, there are sweets in the shape of a flying saucer that contain sherbet. I want to be inside a giant flying saucer UFO. I want the giant flying saucer to be full of the giant amount of sherbet mites. There could be aliens made out of the orange sherbet mites. I want such a sugar high that I'm so high I go to Mars. I want to be so hyper with all the sugar that I zip and zoom across the cosmos at the speed of light. Part 2. Trigger warning, choking and suffocating. I am not an imposter made of sherbet mites. I am a normal human. I did not spontaneously form out of the massive bag of sherbet mites and gain sentience. I am the real David. I have not kidnapped the real David, and this is the same person narrating this video as before. My long manly chest hair is not made of sherbet mites. I am normal. I do not have periods of bipolar mania. I have periods of mundania, which is the mundane experience characteristic of normal humans, such as myself. I am the real David. I am not an imposter made out of sherbet mites. I definitely did not put the bag of sherbet mites over the real David's head and then proceed to suffocate the real David. I drew me suffocating the real David with the bag of sherbet mites. I drew this because I suffocated the real David, but when I say this, I just mean this hypothetically, and this cannot be proven in the court of law. I am the real David, so next time my family and friends see me, they will definitely be seeing the real David. If they do not believe I am the real David, then they are crazy, and they should feel very bad for accusing me of such an act. They are so crazy and bad for thinking I could have done something like that. How could they think that? I must be some horrible person. I must just be the worst person in the world, and they've really upset me. Why were they annoyed and upset when they accused me of such an act?
They were just being too sensitive, as they always are, and now I have to pay the price because their emotions make them crazy people. It is like living in an asylum in this house with all their mental health problems. I am a normal human and do a normal job. I run around doing this completely normal occupation, trying to provide for them while they sit on their backsides all day because they cannot work, and this is the thanks I get. I am a normal person, and I do not gaslight my family. Me and my family get on very well and do completely normal recreational activities, like holding hands in a circle and singing Come by my Lord.
I'm being suffocated. No, it's the actual real David speaking. When I think about it, I thought the bag of sherbet might was the most amazing present. I thought the bag of sherbet mites was the most perfect present. I thought I was in love with the bag of sherbet mites. I had the idealized image of the bag of sherbet mites. But then the sherbet mites turned into an imposter of me and kidnapped me. My mind didn't know what to do. My mind clung to the perfect idea of the sherbet bag, but in real life, my friend had not even given me the bag of sherbet yet. I don't even know anything about what the sherbet mites are like. I built up this version of what the bag of sherbet was like in my head. I built up this relationship in my head about me and the bag of sherbet. But the bag of sherbet doesn't even know me yet. How can we be in a relationship? When the bag of sherbet turned into an impostor of me and kidnapped me, I thought I could fix the bag of sherbet mites and that we could still be together. Now that the bag of sherbet has turned into an impostor and is literally suffocating me to death, I realized that the bag of sherbet is fallible like everything else, and the perfect image I built up of the bag when I didn't even know the bag was all just fabricated. I thought I was in love with the bag of sherbet mites, but really I was just in love with the idea of the bag of sherbet mites. I hadn't even been given the bag yet. How could I possibly know what the bag was like? Now I realize that the present my friend bought me is actually really the worst present I've ever been given. And I hope saying this triggers my friend's borderline personality disorder, fear of rejection, and sends them into a shame spiral. If my friend is watching this, I'm just joking, and I'm sure it will be a great present. But with borderline personality disorder, you can feel extreme emotions within seconds, so hopefully the damage is not already done.
It is me, the imposter. No, wait, I was meant to say that I was not the imposter. Oh, well, there is no point in lying anymore. I thought killing people would be fun, but it is just as boring as anything else in life. Everything is boring. But if killing people is no more fun than anything else in life, if being nasty is just as boring as being nice, then what is even the point of being nasty? I've realized that I may as well be good from now on. I will never gaslight people or try and suffocate them again. I am going to stop suffocating David before it is too late. There you go, David. I've took the bag off your head. I'm sorry, and you're free to go. I guess I feel so bored all the time because I have shallow emotions, and this is something I will work on in therapy. And hopefully become a better version of myself.
Part 3.
The psychiatrist thought I was not in mania and that I don't have bipolar, and that they could not diagnose me with borderline personality disorder either. In the next part, I am quite upset about this. I feel quite bad about the next part because it's quite sarcastic, and I hope it's not nasty, but at the same time, I think it's important to show this part as it expresses how I was feeling. Sorry in advance if it is a bit nasty.
I drew a hill. From a distance, people can look like tiny mites, but don't worry, they're not really mites, they're people. They just look tiny from a distance. I don't draw mites anymore because I am so normal. I draw normal things like humans. All my mood fluctuations are completely explainable through my autism alone. I don't have bipolar or borderline personality disorder. I am completely normal and a stable human being and a functioning member of society, free to live a life of religious fulfillment. I drew two lesbian mountains holding hands in a mountain range. Happy Pride Month. I do not draw mites. The tiny dots are humans. They just look very small from a distance when compared to mountains. I did not draw orange Sherbet mice. I drew human beings from the planet Earth wearing orange clothes. I am a normal person and I am very supportive of my gay sister, who is genuinely so normal that I don't even normally make a video about her because there is nothing weird about her to make fun of. I am genuinely not being sarcastic. I drew this card for my sister before Pride Month because she likes normal hobbies characteristic of humans, such as geographical studies, which pertains to landforms such as elevations in Earth's surface, colloquially known as mountains. Mountain ranges formed during geological history. I no longer believe I have the tail of an obscure microscopic arachnid called a palpigrade. The bushy tail is now meant to be a squirrel tail. I now believe I have the tail of a completely normal type of animal called a mammal. Did you know mammals are a popular group of animals amongst humans? Mammals come from the planet Earth. I like mammals because I am normal, and normal people like mammals, not obscure arachnids called palpigrades. I am a normal human being. I am not a person made out of a eusocial colony of mites. I live on a completely ordinary planet to live on called Earth. This planet is made of rock and is not made of mites. This planet contains 4 layers: the crust, the mantle, the inner core, and the outer core. This whole time I have not been made out of mites, and I do not live on a planet made of mites. The rocks and minerals on this normal planet are malachite, not malachite. The fossils are ammonites, not ammonites. There are stalactites, not stalagmites. Wait, stalagmites are normal too, but they contain the word mite. Maybe I am not normal and maybe I am becoming self-aware. Wait, no, I am normal because I wear items of clothing such as tights, and I do not wear mites. I experience the day and night cycle that is typical of the planet Earth. I do not experience day and night. I am normal because I have good sleep hygiene and do all the right things to help me sleep. I got 1 hour sleep last night, which means I am normal because to be diagnosed with hypomania, I need to go for consecutive days without any sleep at all. I am human. I am not made of mites. I am not an imposter. I am made of a skeleton made of the material collagen and the mineral hydroxyapatite. I do not contain a skeleton made of the mineral hydroxyapatite. So I did not do any research for this next part, and I did not use ChatGPT. I wrote a script, but the knowledge is just off the top of My head. Did you know normal people move their bodies in a process called exercise? I am a normal person. I extend my foot to make contact with a spherical object known as a football. Football is a popular leisure activity which lots of humans like myself engage in. When my team scores, I get a moderate and well-balanced amount of excitement, characteristic of mundania, not mania. I use my distal tarsal segment to kick the ball. No, wait, I am not made of mites or part of the broader group Arthropoda. I am human, and therefore only contain metameric segmentation. My vertebrae are just split into metameric segments because I am a chordate and descended from animals with a notochord and retain features of this fluid-filled precursor to a backbone. I contain fluid in my intravertebral discs known as the nucleus pulposi because I am a normal vertebrate and used to have a fluid-filled notochord. I function within normal range because I am a vertebrate and have a thyroid gland. This is clear because my completely normal relative Amphioxus and tunicates have a homologous gland known as endostyles. I have a completely normal and balanced thyroid because I am a normal human. My thyroid is not underactive or overactive. I secrete hormones from this normal human gland called tetraiodothyronine and triiodothyronine. I am a normal human and therefore in my evolutionary history, my ultimobranchial gland fused with my thyroid gland. The ultimobranchial gland became the C cells. And now, because I am definitely a human, I secrete the hormone calcitonin. I am definitely not made of mites or any other arthropods. I do not secrete any weird arthropod hormones like juvenile hormones or ecdysteroids that help me molt. I do not periodically shed my cuticle at once. I am a deuterostome, not an ecdyozoan. I am not a malocrustacean. I do not contain an antennal gland. I have emotional functioning. I have the right amount of serotonin in my brain and gut. I have a normal enteric nervous system. I do not have stomatogastric ganglion because I am not a crustacean. I have completely normal levels of dopamine and do not need an antipsychotic. My levels of gamma aminobutyric acid are completely normal and I do not need an anticonvulsant or benzodiazepine. My serotonin is fine. I do not need a tricyclic, tetracyclic monoamine oxidase inhibitor or an SSRI, an SNRI, or any other of the numerous reuptake inhibitors that affect serotonin, dopamine, or norepinephrine. I do not need the S-enantiomer of ketamine through nasal spray or injection because my glutamate levels are completely fine. I do not need Cobenfy because my acetylcholine levels are completely fine because I am a normal and functioning member of society. I'll just remind you I wrote a script, but this knowledge is just off the top of my head.
Part 4.
A couple of months later, I saw another psychiatrist, and they thought I might have bipolar and put me on a mood stabilizer. I am heavily sedated. I no longer talk fast, and I am calmer, and I am not even being sarcastic in this part, because the medication has really helped me so far. And the new psychiatrist was very understanding. Everything is now normal and mundane, and I have been in mundania. A different psychiatrist now believes that I am not normal and I am made of sherbet mites. Instead of titrating
to a higher dose. I am going to migrate to a higher dose. Migrate as in might within them. This should help me feel less depressed and calm.
It's the real David here. Now, before you judge this next drawing, I would like to say that I have been very unwell and I have had a very busy, stressful day. Now, autosexual is a real term that means you're attracted to yourself. With my OCD, I irrationally worry that I'm attracted to mites, even though I am not actually attracted to mites. While this is very distressing for me, it is fun to push the boundaries of what will trigger my OCD. Whatever I draw and make videos about will be in my head all day. So if I draw the real me in love with a version of me made of sherbet mites, will it trigger my OCD and make me obsessively worry all day that I'm attracted to me but made of mites? Because with OCD I worry I'm attracted to mites. So this may also make me worry I'm gay and autosexual, which means being attracted to yourself. While being attracted to yourself does not mean you're narcissistic, and people who are autosexual are not necessarily narcissists, with my OCD I have worried in the past that I'm narcissistic, so I'm unsure if the drawing will also trigger me to obsessively worry I'm narcissistic, especially because I've done so many drawings and talked about myself so much. That's all. See ya.
Hello, I am definitely not an imposter made of sherbet mites. Now, before you judge this next drawing, I would like to say that I have been very unwell, and I have had a very busy, stressful day. Now, autosexual is a real term that means you're attracted to yourself. With my OCD, I irrationally worry that I'm attracted to humans, even though I am not actually attracted to humans. While this is very distressing for me, it is fun to push the boundaries of what will trigger my OCD. Whatever I draw and make videos about will be in my head all day. So if I draw me the imposter in love with the real human version of me, will it trigger my OCD and make me obsessively worry all day that I'm attracted to me, but as a human? Because with OCD I worry I'm attracted to humans. So this may also make me worry I'm gay and autosexual, which means being attracted to yourself. While being attracted to yourself does not mean you're narcissistic, and people who are autosexual are not necessarily narcissists. With my OCD, I have worried in the past that I am narcissistic, so I am unsure if the drawing will also trigger me to obsessively worry I'm narcissistic, especially because I've done so many drawings and talked about me, the imposter, so much.
Part 5. Disclaimer. Real people with borderline personality disorder generally don't actually go around biting people's fingers off. My pet rock has borderline personality disorder, or BPD for short. My pet rock also became made of sherbet mites. My imposter is also made of sherbet, and my pet rock tried to eat my imposter and bit their sherbet finger off. How did their borderline personality disorder cause them to do this? There is a lot of stigma about borderline personality disorder. People with BPD can feel emotions very intensely, and this can mean people with BPD can be very empathetic. However, with humans in general, empathy can be selective and vary depending on the situation. For example, humans in general may feel more empathy towards people they like more, or animals they are more fond of, like dogs. This may explain why people would rather eat pigs than dogs, even though an animal's worth should not depend on their cuteness.
Humans in general may feel less empathy towards others that have done something wrong, or they don't like, and are therefore undeserving of empathy. With BPD, you can see yourself and others as all good or all bad. You can feel intense emotions like love towards people you see as all good, and intense hate towards someone you see as all bad. If humans in general feel less empathy towards people who in their mind have done something wrong or bad, and who they don't like and therefore are undeserving of empathy, this may contribute towards why someone with BPD may feel less empathy in this situation. Because people with BPD may see another person as all bad, when they feel anger towards that person, it may feel like righteous anger, or like they are just balancing the scales, as the person with BPD themselves may feel an intense amount of hurt from the other person. Another factor may be that with humans in general, when they are feeling a lot of distress and are overwhelmed with emotions, they may not have the emotional bandwidth to deal with others' emotions, and may be more focused on themselves and feel less empathy towards other people. Because people with BPD can feel emotions so intensely, they feel in such intense pain that it feels like they're dying, and that they would impulsively do anything to relieve the pain. This may mean that they're so overwhelmed by their own emotions that it is really difficult to deal with other people's emotions on top of that, and they have to preserve their own self and emotional safety. They may be in such distress that they may not feel as much empathy towards another person. With BPD, there is a big fear of rejection and abandonment. This can make conflicts very distressing for the person with BPD, which means in the BPD's person mind, their safety is being threatened by the other person, and their emotions are so intense and overwhelming, they have to protect themselves and can't act as empathetically towards the other person during an argument. When this is combined with extreme anger, which is one symptom of BPD, this can make controlling outbursts very difficult, as sudden intense mood swings can happen within seconds before your brain even has time to process what has happened, or even count to 10. Empathy in humans in general can also be selective. For example, any humans may not feel much empathy and do something bad because of their lack of empathy, but then afterwards feel shame and guilt, which is a sign of empathy. Psychopathy is characterized by a very little amount of empathy. Psychopaths may feel a very limited amount of shame and guilt. In some ways, this is the opposite to people with BPD, which can feel intense shame and guilt because their emotions are so intense. People with BPD can have a very harsh and critical inner monologue inside their head. This can lead to even more shame and guilt. This is a sign of empathy, and people with BPD can be intensely empathetic in certain situations. This means it can be very upsetting to say people with BPD are psychos or don't have empathy. This stigma can contribute even more to why people with BPD have such negative self-talk and shame and guilt. If people with BPD have another condition like OCD, where they worry about being a bad person, saying they are unempathetic may trigger their OCD and make them feel even more distress, shame and guilt about themselves, and possibly lead them to split on themselves and see themselves as all bad. People with BPD can also have unstable sense of self. This means the boundaries between themselves and others can become blurred, and it can be hard to distinguish whether emotions belong to someone else or whether the emotions belong to they themselves. They may not know whose emotions are their own. While this means other people's emotions can feel very contagious, there is less of a boundary between your emotions and the other person's emotions. So if the other person is feeling a lot of distress, you may then take on all that distress, which means you're less able to help that person because you're in so much distress that you yourself then need help too. Because the boundary between yourself and others can become blurred, you may try and help the other person by doing something that will help yourself, like eating sherbet rather than helping the other person. They might think, what they are doing will help the other person, but because their own emotions are so entangled with the other person's emotions, they do something that may just help themselves rather than the other person, even though they have the best intentions and want to help other people, want to help other people. That is why the Sherbet version of my pet rock ate the Sherbet version of me's finger. The finger just reformed out of new Sherbet mites and everything was fine. One final thing to mention is that not everyone's empathy is so selective. For example, I am unsure if I feel empathy any stronger than other people, but my empathy does not go away if someone does anything bad or if I don't like the person. My empathy does not reduce even when I feel intense distress, and my empathy does not go away even when thinking about tiny creatures like insects, worms, and mites, which I feel empathy towards long before they became my special interest and I had OCD around worrying about accidentally harming tiny creatures. And I had OCD around worrying about accidentally harming tiny creatures long before they became my special interest. So in my case, even though I don't have borderline personality disorder, my empathy seems more broad and generalized rather than selective. My empathy is not conditional, and my empathy is still not conditional even when I'm very angry. Part 6.
My daddy, the real David, is in a relationship with the mite version of themselves. I am the inbred baby. I am half human, half mite. I only have one big tooth, but I make up for it by having 2 extra fingers. I have a big lump on my head. I am half made of sherbet mites and half made of human flesh. I hate my 2 daddies for bringing me into this cruel and unforgiving world. They made me. They must have knew I'd turn out inbred. I wish I'd never been born, and I wish my 2 parents will burn in hell for all eternity for their transgression.
We are the many descendants of the real David and the mighty imposter. Long, long ago there was an apocalypse that wiped out all of humanity except David. It was David's task to repopulate the earth. However, with no other humans, David had to get very creative and started reproducing with household objects, as well as being in love with them self-made of sherbet mice. David was in a polyamorous relationship with their pet rock, called Bedrock, Dan the cooking pan, Morag the flag, Bert the t-shirt, and Luke the hook that was a coat hanger. David the bag of mites and all the household objects kept reproducing with each other until eventually the offspring became so inbred that the sherbet mites composing their bodies turned blue. Like that family that inbred so much they actually turned blue in real life. The sherbet mites inside colonies eventually became so blurred together that they merged into one super colony of sherbet mites. The offspring had my fringe and glasses. The offspring had so many extra heads and so many extra arms and legs. We are the offspring. Casey the staircase had got in on the action and also reproduced with me and my mite imposter. Our polyamorous relationship between me and household objects like Bedrock and Dan the Pan had blossomed. With no other humans left on Earth, I had bred with the bag of sherbet that turned into a version of me. I had bred with myself and objects that was not exactly a huge gene pool. The offspring that had descended from me, the bag of sherbet mites and the staircase, had turned blue from all the inbreeding, and the offspring was made of blue sherbet mites. It had extra heads, which each had a fringe and glasses like me, but some of the heads had extra eyes. The offspring kept reproducing with themselves until eventually the whole planet turned into blue inbred sherbet mites. Then the whole galaxy and eventually the whole universe had become made of extremely inbred blue sherbet mites. A 3-kilogram bag of sherbet had prospered and replicated itself until it became the most dominant organism in the entire universe. Everything had become assimilated into the hungry blue powder. Planets fell to the blue sherbet mites. They were all consuming, and consuming all they did. In my story, everything in the multiverse is made of mites. In the main universe, everything is just made of mostly red normal mites. In a parallel universe, everything is made of water mites, which are actually different colours in real life. In another parallel universe, everything is made of mites that can be see-through in real life. In that universe, my pet rock is invisible and lies in bed feeling transparent with their own feelings of emptiness, because they're made of see-through mites. In the universe in this video, everything is made of sherbet mites that have turned blue and all descended from the 3-kilogram bag of sherbet. I am the real me, but alas, no amount of Botox can make you live forever, and I am with the ancestors now, speaking to you from the other side. I was the last human, but my genes, though diluted by sherbet and inanimate objects, will live on. In the heart of every star turned blue, in every planet turned blue. If anything ever happens to me, my family can watch this video to remember me. I'm feeling safe at the moment though, so don't worry.
I was just feeling a bit depressed though.